If I was doing any better, I would be you. Welcome to the Greatness Academy podcast. I'm here with Tandon and Valerie Mardis. So these are two outstanding philanthropists from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Well, I know Tandon's from Fayetteville. Uh, Valerie's from Louisiana, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so thank you guys for coming on. How you guys doing today?
We're
Outstanding.
good.
Excited to be here.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm excited to have you guys because you guys lived a million and one lives. You guys are young, healthy, big family, and you guys are doing great things in the community. So thank you for joining me today.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
Thanks
Our
for having
pleasure.
us.
So I know you guys are working on some projects. Is there some projects you guys have now that you want to share with our listeners?
There are. Yeah, we have established an endowment at Fayetteville State University. It is established through the athletics program, and basically what we did was we just wanted to be able to give back and provide a space for students to thrive, and we wanted to just be a part of their process and make a difference in their life. So we partnered with Fayetteville State and decided to try to make the future's dreams come true.
Showing that Bronco pride, huh?
Oh, pride, that's right.
So you guys, as Fayetteville State alums, did you feel that, or how important did you feel that it was for you to actually give back to the school?
I think that so we didn't want to be people that just kind of showed up and be a consumer, right?
Right,
Just a
right.
consumer of the sporting events and all that kind of stuff. We wanted them to be part of our family. And when you give like that, you do become part of their family, and they become part of yours. And we wanted to take a bigger bite out of what it means to be an alumni.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to give back, especially like for me. I was a Chancellor Scholar. I had a scholarship going to Fayetteville State. So to be able to pay it forward, I would have probably not been able to afford college had somebody not established that type of scholarship at Fayetteville State, or not be able to afford it in the straight 4 years that I was able to do it.
Right.
And to be able to give that back, I think is really important. Pay it forward. So that was my inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you guys have a big, beautiful family, 4 kids. How do you involve your family into being able to give back and showing them what philanthropy looks like?
Well, the biggest thing that we do is just have the conversation.
Yeah.
And we don't expect everything that we talk about at this point at their ages to sink in and for them to fully understand everything. But what our prayer is and what our goal is that the next time that we have the conversation, or the next time that they hear bits and pieces of that conversation that we had in the house in public with their friends, or with an adult, or with a business, or with another university, that they're familiar and they know at least the basics of what they have seen and what they were taught while they were in the house. So that's really our goal, is to explain to them that on a basic level, kids, we are doing something today for somebody else.
Yeah.
And we are doing it as a family. So that's really the biggest takeaway that we want them to walk outside of the house with.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, I think that every year we come up with something to do outside of the house for somebody else.
Yeah.
That's
So
amazing.
for Fayetteville State, attending the events, and they were able to come on the field with us to present the check.
That's cool.
And that was really neat, I think the year before, did we have them on the field? Oh, you were the military.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were the military. It was the captain of the game that flips the coin. So they were able to do that, and they go in the box, and it just makes them, they understand what it means to be a part of something. And they also get to be proud of their dad and their parents, like my parents are doing stuff. But not just the events and everything. Like I'm part of Kiwanis, which is an international organization. So our local Kiwanis, my daughter goes to serve with me quite often for the fundraisers or anything that we're doing. I involve her in the actual service, and the Kiwanis members know my child, and And it's for children. So to have her understand, to give back to other children is very important as well. So not just the financial piece and not just the conversation, not just showing up to present the check, but also, being the hands-on, doing the work. Yeah, it's very important.
Yeah, I think doing the work is one of the biggest parts of giving back, because it just and not to get too religious, but it just reminds me of that picture of Jesus washing feet. I think that is probably the most important part of understanding when you are elevated. The best way to give back is to show people, how to get down and get back into the work.
Exactly.
I really want to know, how big was the check?
Well, this initial endowment is $25,000.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well, it is amazing, but it is also
very doable.
It is very doable
for a common, like for families. It is very doable, and I think that's one of the things that we wanted to talk about, was that doesn't. I think people see that and they're like, oh, I could never fork that out all at one time. Or I think that the desire is there for quite a few people, but not understanding the process and not asking the question, how do I get started in that type of, in the process? I think that that's something that's intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important to let people know, like, if you're interested, this is something that you can do, and it can be broken down.
Yeah. For us, big picture, any large purchase that we agree to go in on as a family is a budgeted item, and is a prayerful item, and it's something that remains in conversation throughout. So I'll give you some examples. Paying for vehicles, but it's just putting that line item, whether you're tithing and offering, whatever it is, you make it a line item, and you stay disciplined and you stick to your plan. It's the same thing with this endowment. We decided to make this donation, and we want to see it come to fruition. It's you gave the washing the feet analogy, which is beautiful. And it really is. I can't go in and take the test for a student. I can't go in and encourage them every day. But what I can do is try to lighten the load on the back end, so that you don't have that hanging over your head, a financial burden hanging over your head. And all I have to do is to work hard to, you kind of open the door for me, which I appreciate, to keep God first, and to keep my family on the up and up, and make sure everything's going well within my four walls. And now I'm in a good position and been blessed enough to, again, make that line item and make sure that somebody else is blessed from what God has given us. So that's the big picture.
You'll tell them about how the endowment is established.
Okay. Yeah. So when we moved back to Fayetteville, being military, and I also fly for the airlines as well. But when we moved back to Fayetteville, as Valerie said, we wanted to not just be a fly on the wall. We talk about growing where we planted. We talk about making an impact on the community in any way that we can. And both of us being graduates of FSU, we said, well, what can we do for the school? So through some conversations and learning about how programs work at the university, I learned about the endowment system. And I'll preface it with, oftentimes you hear about an older couple or somebody else that probably is known to have a financial status within the community, or you see Robert F. Smith down at Morehouse paying for all these kids' college, and you see it at such a large level that it feels like it's not doable, and that you're incapable of providing something for somebody else because it's such a large number. But when you actually learn about how the system works, you realize that you can actually make an impact. So with all that said, I had some conversations with some trusted friends within the university, and they were just telling me some of the options that I had to be to help, basically to help financially in the school system for the kids. So what we decided was on an endowment. We partnered with the Office of Development, I believe, and just let them know that what we wanted to do. And the system's already set up. Everything is already in place. This is something that happens every day. But it's just, as you kind of alluded to a little while ago, it's not something that is often talked about in our community. So we literally took in a beginning check and just to establish the endowment. And we had a couple of documents that needed to be signed by the university that established our endowment, which also had our guidelines for the student that would be eligible for that endowment. So it's athletics, I believe it's a 3.5 GPA in good standing.
And we established that. Awesome. Those are the things that we had to agree on, like what is realistic, or what do we want the kid to be striving for if they're receiving the scholarship.
Right.
So the paperwork that's drawn up is drawn up by lawyers. And did you have to get it notarized? I don't remember, but
that wasn't on my part. That was on
their part. Yeah. So it's you go in and it's kind of like you're closing on a house.
Right.
Yeah. So you sit down at the table
because it's
very formal.
Yeah, you're talking about money and you're talking about their futures.
But the initial check was for $5,000.
$5,000.
And then you can break it. It's broken up for over 5 years. Mm-hmm. So you have 5 years to hit that mark, right? Okay. So the endowment as a whole right now it's only set at 25,000, but our goal is to increase that. But the minimum was 20. Was it? Yeah, the minimum was 25,000. So you bring $5,000 to the table when you sign the paperwork, and then as long as you hit $5,000 every year after that, the endowment stays. That's how you fund it. That's how you fund the endowment. And then the university owns it, and it gains interest.
Well, so once it gets to $25,000 minimum, now that endowment is active within the university endowment system. So, and that's the North Carolina endowments. So now that it meets that $25,000 minimum, now I want to say it creates a 4% interest, which is what's paid out every year in scholarship availability,
right?
Within the athletic program, again, for a student that it meets all of our guidelines. Okay. So the more money that's in there, then the more scholarships that's going to be available for students.
Right. So every year, sorry. So every year, we contribute to the endowment with the minimum of the $5,000. But it doesn't have to be just you. You can raise the money. Mm-hmm. You can ask people to donate to your endowment. I mean, I think that there's people who have fundraisers for this type of thing. Like they'll fry some fish and dinner plates. Yeah. Like there's a lot of different ways to do it.
Hey, buddy, don't worry about that.
Stop.
Don't worry about it. Go.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. That's called we're not even gonna call it work-life balance. It's like life balance, right? You like got a kid, so we're gonna talk about this endowment. Get your hands off of the
right.
So I love it. So like, how do you guys balance the ability and gifts to have this amazing work life and then this ability to give back to the community and still like parent?
It's all her.
She's the MVP.
Okay. How do I do it? One day at a time. Yeah. And the day is in increments at a time. And that really, that's all I can do. I have to establish boundaries with outside organizations, because if you let people, they will take over your schedule, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But I remind people all the time that my babies are going to nap at a certain time, and that's it. So we can either have a phone call at that time, but I'm not leaving the house. That is very important to me, and their health. Of course, my children will always come first. But we have babysitters as well, not regularly, unfortunately, but 9 times out of 10, like I have a lady who has babysat our children, and she has said to me, she said, I love that, like, whenever I come over to babysit, you're taking the kids to functions. Like, she's babysat for homecoming stuff for me, pancake fundraisers and stuff like that, and you don't know that anybody notices that until they say it. But utilizing your village, I think, is very important.
That's good.
Yeah. But it's worth it. So yeah, I'm paying a babysitter so I can go give money somewhere else or go give time somewhere else. But it's so important to do it, and it's a priority. and you leave feeling wonderful, and it creates, you become a stakeholder in your community. So so it's a priority, and I just do my best to balance everything.
No, I think
there's no secret formula.
right. Yeah, I think that what you said though really is key though. Is one of the things that I'm learning, and that's be able to find a priority. Your priority just happens to be your kids, and now I'm shifting my priority to say, it used to be like, I'm sorry, it used to be like work and kids, and they were like, even like, I can't make the kids happy if I don't work. But I'm in the military, so they're gonna cut the check. As long as I show up, they're gonna cut the check, right? But
my you got to do something though.
right, yeah, you got to do something. But at the end of the day, whether I work from, because I am that guy that works till 10, 11 o'clock at night if something is necessary. I mean, it's one of the reasons I got promoted really fast. But on top of school and doing everything you need to get promoted. Like not a one trick pony, but
we understand.
But at the same time, I started my the oldest kids started getting older, and they stopped running to the door with excitement. And then at that point I realized, hey, even though it's 6 more kids behind them, that moment isn't going to last forever. So me shifting back the priority to my family, and being able to balance time. And I've actually learned that I'm actually able to manage many more things, and excuse my English because I'm a finance guy, many more things with time management. If I know I have 15 minutes to do it, I have 15 dedicated minutes to do a task, and not, an hour to do 5 different tasks, which you don't get the best out of or quality of work with that. And so I think it's really important to establish those boundaries and manage your time and identify your priorities. Absolutely.
Yeah, break it up into small pieces. And making sure everybody's expectations of you are clear. Like for my Kiwanis group, they know that Valerie is not coming to the meeting every single Tuesday. However, every single Friday and Saturday, I put together the bulletin and the newsletter for the group. And that's how I serve from home. Like there are ways that you can serve. I don't care how busy you think you are. But I get up early on a Sunday morning before I take the kids to church, or have online church, which is a thing too. And I get that newsletter out for my team because they're my team. And that's how I see them. So I think that there's always a way to make it work. You just have to make the decision. This is what I want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is like my new saying, like, I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So, hey, we're going to get in here. We're going to get this done. And then I got to move on to the next thing. But I think that's just really is a part of being great. Right. So I know that you have a number of nonprofit organizations that you've worked with over time. How has that allowed you guys, your family, A, to balance your personal finances, and B, to kind of look at the endowment through your personal finances and say, hey, this is possible?
I think that one of the early conversations that Tandon and I had, well, first of all, I think it started with taxes. Let's just be honest. Like, how do you get tax deductions, right? Let's just be honest. I think it started with taxes. He started asking questions about how can I pay less taxes? And then my nonprofit background was like, oh, I have ways. So we just backtracked from there. And we had a conversation about what is important to us. And I had got some really great advice from a gentleman in my Kiwanis group many years ago. And he said at the beginning of every year, he and his wife sit down and they choose the organizations that they are going to give to and how much they are going to give. And then if anybody else comes around peddling for, oh, can I have, or GoFundMe accounts now, which are a huge thing for everybody, you can say, no, I've already dedicated this, these are the organizations that we are supporting this year. If you get me some information, I'll present it next year. Nice. And so my background in nonprofit really pushed me as we started to get the ball rolling. It really pushed me to encourage Tandon to to keep on giving. Like what are the great organizations that we enjoy within the community? The theater is awesome, and we were patron sponsors for that for a little while, and we're going to go back to it. But yeah, just what do you enjoy? Who do you feel like gives back? And I think that's the other really important thing. Make sure that you are giving to an organization that is accountable for their funds, and that you can actually see where that money is going. And it's not just because there are some organizations that are nonprofits that you just don't know where that goes, and you don't really understand. But if you don't have someone that guides you through all of those questions, and you can get all your questions answered, then you do not give them your money. And it's as simple as that, because I know that also is an issue within our community, is trust.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It is. It's a huge, so, do a little bit of research. How many CEOs has this place gone through in the past 6 years, or so ask the hard questions before you dole out your hard-earned money, because you worked hard for it and you're making a sacrifice. So
yeah, for sure. Especially the fact that you laid out, hey, this is my, and for some organizations, a lot of organizations, it is their hard-earned money, and they are looking to shift their finances and their dynamics through taxes or give backs, really, however you want to look at it. But I think it is very, very essential to be able to, just like Tandon said earlier, kind of line item where you're putting your money, and then that way you have a cutoff point, so you're not just like out here like Robin Hood and making it rain on every organization. And I've been a part of a lot of organizations, so I know I've been a part of great organizations, and then I've also been a part of some shady organizations. I've raised thousands of dollars and created scholarships, and I remember not only being the fundraiser chair, but also the CFO for the organization. And then all of a sudden, hey, I know we raised $10,000, but I've seen 8,000 go out in scholarships. Yeah, I'm concerned, right?
Yes.
And it's really definitely about being thorough, honestly. Yeah. I think, oh man, you guys, I think this is going to be one of those ones that I am really going to enjoy, because I usually try to take notes, but as you guys are going through, I couldn't keep up because there was a lot of information. I do want to take a step back and ask, if someone is thinking of starting an endowment and they have no idea where to start, where would you recommend them to start, or how? Would it be the computer? Would it be the university? Where did you guys say, hey, okay, now that we're going to do this, this is our first step?
You can literally Google it.
Yeah. I would say the development department is a good place to start. If you have a certain department.
You mean at Fayetteville State? Or anything?
just anyone.
Anything?
Yeah. But just tell me about your experience, though.
So you started off with assistant athletic director. That's really who guided you through this? But and so I think that it's important to go to, like, I graduated from Fayetteville State. I was in the SBE building, which was the business school. If I would advise someone that if they want to give, and if they have like a certain area they want to give to, go to the department first. Okay. So what it might be like the nursing department or the chemistry department. If something is important to you, or you want to see kids thrive more in astronomy, I don't know, like go to the department, find out what their needs are, and then go to the development department. And that way, you have at least a platform or something to start with, and then you can go to the development department and say, this is where I want to help, and this is how I want to help. That way, maybe if you went straight to the development department, they would just maybe talk you into the general fund, which there's nothing wrong with the general fund.
Right.
But if there's something that you're passionate about, and that would encourage you to write that check every year, then you do that, go that route, so you can stay engaged. So yeah, possibly starting with your interest area and then go into the development department. Would that be that's a good way to do it? Yeah. Yeah, and so he started with the athletic director and went from there. That's what happened. Yeah.
So I know Tandon is a man of many skills, right? And super, super, I'm gonna say super duper because I know some people are super educated, but he's super duper educated. So you've acquired all these skills. Man, what movie is that? I've acquired a number of skills. That's you.
Skills.
Yeah, I have a particular set of skills. So not only having experience as a military pilot, also being a commercial pilot, also having a number of different degrees with these skills. How do you feel like this is going to help you beyond the impact of philanthropy? Like, do you see yourself fighting for certain causes based off of these number of skills that you've acquired?
So I'll say this, and I actually just listened to a really good podcast earlier about acquiring skills, and again another Bible reference. Just being able to put, it's not your words, it's your deeds, right? So it's not all of the skills that I've acquired, because I could sit at home and keep all those skills on the couch and watch Liam Neeson movies all day.
Right.
But without implementing it is the biggest thing. So how do I feel like it's going to affect me and my family outside of here? Is the best thing that I can do is what I believe is my mission is to raise good kids, is to raise good people. So the biggest thing that I try to show them through all the blessings that I have, all the things that I've been able to acquire for my family, for myself, is just that they can do it. And if I have that impact on them and I instill that positive confidence inside of them, and that should permeate, that should go just within their community and the people that they meet, and they're going to notice that this person does things a little bit different in a good way.
Ooh,
and
I like that.
That's really the impact that I'm going for. Any degree, any success story, any endowment, any dollar that comes out of this house, if it doesn't impact them in a positive way, if it's just for me selfishly, then it's a dollar that wasn't well spent. So for me, I've worked so hard so that they don't have to, or they don't have to work hard at the things that I've had to work hard at. I want to show them what hard work can do, and I want to show them what that hard work can positively benefit you and benefit somebody else. So that's the biggest takeaway. I'll work all day long if that's the outcome, that I raise good people, then yeah, count me in.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing. So I can't wait to go back and watch this podcast, because I'm gonna have like a note. I'm gonna end up writing another book. So I'm like in the middle of writing a book. So I have authored a book. It's called Let's Talk About a Personal Budget. It's pretty much your personal guide to family and individual finances. I am writing an update to that book, creating a military version, just because I think it's very necessary to have those books. But it's small nuggets like these that really get people through, I ain't gonna say tough times, but it's the hump, because sometimes tough times for people can be comfortable, can be doing the same monotonous thing every time. But I think the one thing that I've identified with you two is purpose. And when you have a driven purpose to do something, it makes taking the next step much easier.
Exactly.
Let me ask, how did you two meet?
So I transferred to Fayetteville State in 2003, summer of 2003. And I was sitting in the SBE building at Fayetteville State, and I saw this pretty young thing sitting in class, and I knew right then that I was not ready for that.
Yeah, there we go.
He said if she don't learn nothing today, she gonna learn who I am.
Yeah. And not all she learned at the time was who I was.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So
he was not ready.
No. No. And so don't get it fooled. Like who we're talking about today,
Yeah.
I thought I was somebody completely different then.
Got you.
And I was able to live long enough to be able to articulate that. So that's a good thing. But yeah, we met at Fayetteville State in the summer 2003, and
Yeah, we had a mutual friend.
Had some mutual friends,
and we were throwing her a birthday party, a surprise birthday party. Was it a surprise? I think it was a surprise. Yeah. But we were throwing her a birthday party, and Tandon and I were assigned decorations. So we had to go to Party City together. And then the chemistry was like, you could just like cut it with a knife. Like it was just thick. And so yeah, he's been my Tandon ever
since. So actually, so she graduated early.
Yeah.
From Fayetteville State. She graduated in 2006. I graduated in 2007. For her, she stayed in Fayetteville, and she was working for the city. And then I left for the military. So I was gone for a couple of years. We would kind of catch each other up here and there throughout the years, homecomings, again, mutual friends. And then I think in 2013, some phone calls were made, and rekindled some things, and got back into conversation. And then 2014.
We were married by 2015. Yeah.
That's amazing, because I just think about moments like that, and you just think about the phone call and the thought of each other, and the fact that it is going to send many kids through school is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody think of it that way. You're like, yeah, I like kissing her, but I'm like, yeah, but you guys are sending like people to school, and you made your own people too, right?
We made people. Yeah. She made people.
Yes.
One of the things at a younger age, during all that, and it sounds like a great story, but the truth is that I didn't know what I was doing. I was riding off of emotions. Like at the time, I really didn't have a plan. And I just knew I had the big boulders in the jar already, and I didn't know what else I was going to put in the jar and fill it up. So the biggest blessing that I got was that she was my biggest blessing that I've received, because I can't tell you how many conversations I have with close friends or associates, and them and their spouse are not on the same page, and especially financially, because one of the things that I recommend, first and foremost, is being able to have that conversation about finances. And we're not hiding accounts from each other or anything like that, because
we don't have separate accounts.
It's not separate accounts, it's a joint account. There's no secrets or anything. But the biggest thing that we say to each other, I haven't said in a little while, begin with the end in mind.
Yeah.
So the fact that we were able to grow together throughout the years, in the earlier years, we were able to grow together and establish some of those themes around our processes. So if we want to be a millionaire later in life, then we both can work backwards from there. Start with the end in mind. So there's the end. That's what we want to get to. So I know that when I go to McDonald's and get a Big Mac, that ain't exactly the end in mind, but, but you got to live too, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Right. But it's a thought that I have with every dollar that I spend is, where is my money going? What am I spending stuff on? Because the conversation that I had, that I agreed and prayed with my wife, is that our goal is this. Our goal is X, and I have to get there. So, the biggest blessing that I have is that I was able to luck up and be blessed enough to marry Valerie, who is 100% on board and allows me to, and trust me with the finances, trust me trust me enough to have my kids.
Big trust.
Big trust, and enough to lead. And that by itself pays dividends every single day.
Yeah,
it really does. So,
and I think that another reason why we give, I know we talked about backtracking from taxes, but is legacy. I mean, how great is it for your kids to get invited to a scholarship dinner by Fayetteville State? Let's say, we're gone, but our kids are invited. They're sitting at a table, and up pops our name, contributing to the Tandon and Valerie Mardis Scholarship Fund. That's a great feeling. I'd have the library named after us if I could, just for my kids, just to have a legacy, because you can buy them the world, but you want them to be not only proud, But you want to encourage them to give back as well. And after we're gone, I want them to have something to look back on and say, hey, yeah, that was my parents. Yeah, I guess they were pretty good people.
Right. No, that's super cool.
Yeah.
I think it's just amazing. And it has me thinking. So, with my clients, I've been working through legacy building and showing people what it looks like to have a trust and why to have a trust. And this just kind of looks like one more thing to add, in the trust fund is, money going to a great cause. I think that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this, right? So most of the guests that come on here, I get to ask them this crazy question. And I just love some of the answers. I think you guys' answers may be pretty interesting. So what was the biggest one-time purchase that you guys have made, and then how did it make you feel?
The biggest one-time purchase?
Yeah, like cash money on the table. Like, here's $30,000. I have a X. What was it?
Oh no.
I could give you a young, not understanding money Tandon.
Let me hear it. I want to hear it.
Rims.
Yeah.
I put new rims on a car that I already had rims on.
Oh, man. Love it.
See,
for no reason.
Nobody's perfect. Everybody has to grow.
Absolutely.
You have to start somewhere.
For no reason. And every time I think about it, especially when I ride by some spinners or something, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's no disrespect to anybody else out there, do your thing. But, now at this point in my life where we are legacy planning and legacy building, and just that question alone, like where did my money go?
Well, what is the biggest purchase? What is ours together? I can't think of anything.
Our biggest purchase.
The house? Is that an answer?
Yeah, I usually get that, the house.
Yeah, the house.
Was it the most memorable big purchase?
It's the biggest, most memorable purchase.
I love this question.
Yeah. Well,
and then we built a wall around the house with a brick fence.
Yes, but before we get there, so here's the deal with the house is that we were in a transition period with my job. We were living in Washington, D.C. at the time, and during COVID, COVID turned everybody's life upside down. So we planned on riding it out, and we moved back to Fayetteville and moved into one of our primary properties. And we were just going to ride it out. So COVID happens, quarantine happens, and we ended up having quarantine twins. We were blessed to have quarantine twins. But, so that was a big change for the family. And so at that time in the house that we were in, it wasn't going to be big enough. And this is still a period of transition that we are uncertain about the immediate future. So we said, well, you know what? Again, looking financially at the big picture, being in Fayetteville is going to give us our biggest bang for the buck. We can ride it out here. We're comfortable. We're safe. And we need another house. We need to buy a house.
Right. So, and the interest rates were really
the interest rates were great.
They were really great.
So we went ahead and pulled the trigger on that. And that's probably the biggest purchase that we've ever had together, especially. And, but
and this is our second house that we purchased.
Second purchased house.
Yeah.
So with that said came everything. Now we are raising 4 children in this house that we have to make a home. And and I think between our schedules and how hectic things get, we're just now kind of getting around to putting some paint on the wall, I guess.
Just went to Lowe's the other day to get some paint
on the wall. But
that's
with
that's like the gift and the curse, though. You're like, oh man, like we've been busy. I mean, probably a positive aspect of busy. Be like, you know what? We got first world problems. These walls need to be painted.
We have, and you nailed it. We have first world problems. And so, with that said, with all the transitions that we have in our house and all the ages and with our schedule and stuff, This is something I wanted to say a little while ago as well, as the primary breadwinner in the house, is that I listen to a lot of stuff, and you hear a lot of stuff on the news about work-life balance, and especially mental health and all that. And that is very important. It's very important. But I feel like what also needs to be talked about, especially in our community as males, is that there's seasons of life.
Mhm.
And right now, my season is to work.
Mhm.
and my season is also to communicate what daddy is doing for the family. It's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be a lot of fun.
Right.
And for any of us, I don't want to be away as much as my wife doesn't want to be at the house every day with 4 kids, but it's a sacrifice on all of us. It's a sacrifice on my oldest daughter, and Miles, and the twins. It's a sacrifice, but it is a sacrifice, again, beginning with the end in mind. Where do I want it to end up? So our goal right now is to end up in a place where daddy doesn't work as hard and I'm home more.
Mhm.
And I had that previously, and we enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And
But it was a season.
and it was a season.
It was a season.
And right now we are in a season of fortifying, of making our home.
Mhm.
We're in a season of, and it's a constant season for the kids to communicate with them where we are and remind them, not that they should accept it and be happy with it and just suck it up. That's not what we're asking, but we are asking that they contribute and be a contributor of the family.
Yeah.
Because daddy's not at a park right now. Daddy's at work.
Yeah.
Mommy's, she's making breakfast. She's working for the family. What are you doing for the family?
Yeah.
And what are we doing? So, I enjoy conversations about, man, you need some time off. Like, you got to get some time away. You got to get away from the family. You got to get away from work. You got to get away. Sometimes, guess what? You need to buckle down.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You see some of those memes, they say, man, they said, self-love, and I done love myself and I don't like nobody no more. I say, okay, that was a little bit, you were gone too long.
Right.
You've been gone, but you got to buckle down.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not fun,
Yeah.
but again, if you got a goal, then it makes it worth it.
Yeah.
And,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's cool because I am definitely in the season, right? So, I have my 8 to 10 hour workday. Then I come home. Even on the weekends, I would usually have a podcast and then clients. And so kind of double working and then trying to find that daddy time. And then I kind of look back at the last year and a half and I realized that I'm just in a different season and it's okay. But I do. Like before we got on the podcast, I let my kids know, hey, it's podcast time. Everybody knows that because we've built and developed that communication that, hey, daddy's in a season where he's just in grind mode and he's going to be doing weird stuff like locking himself in the room and screaming podcasts out the door.
Yeah.
But it's all for a good cause. And they've seen the maturation of the processes that we've been going through. So they understand that when we come out, we always come out on top,
That's
so
it.
it's great.
That's it.
It's great that you outline it that way. Seasons, as sounds like a book. So what is your next that how I just like throw an alley-oop? Hey.
Yes, right there.
Yeah. So what does your next 12 months to 3 years look like? And is there anything you will want to share with the listeners about those next what do we call it? Your short-term future?
Yeah, short-term goals. Yeah, anything for you?
Well, we have a kid about to go to high school. So we're about to hit high school stuff.
Yeah.
And that's a very busy season of life. So and just preparing her for the world, I think.
That's for sure.
Yeah. So I'm and my mom hat is switching from my middle school, still trying to coddle you a little bit to no, you have to do this by yourself. I have to fail under my roof. So that's I think that's my biggest thing for the next few years. So,
yeah, that's a trying time too.
If you want really, really short term, I have to potty train twins in a few weeks.
Yeah.
So there's that. Yeah, I mean, like those are my short-term things.
If you accomplish that, that goes on the resume. It's like, finance and banking. I've
Yeah.
done, Girl Scout.
Yeah.
I've done, everything. And then I potty trained
Potty
twins.
trained twins. Yeah.
Period. Put that top period. Top,
Yeah.
top
Yeah.
line.
Yeah. Yeah. What else? What else do we have?
Um,
He's got big stuff.
yeah.
He's got
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
stuff.
All for good.
Yeah.
So, much like you, actually, I have edited. It needs to be a second edit of a book
Yeah.
that I wrote. And yeah, what else we got? Next 3 years, I'll retire from the military. Awesome. And that'll be one job off of my plate, and I'll just have one job instead of several, instead of two. But yeah, I think those are two of my biggest things, and just be debt free.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, we did it once.
Yeah.
It's so funny when you start like the debt-free programs, nobody ever really tells you that it doesn't last forever and you're gonna have to do this again. So we did it one time and it lasted for a few years, and then and then life happened. The twins happened. We needed a bigger house. So I'm like,
that's how it is. And I do believe that. I don't want to get like too deep into my financial program, but definitely I do preach and teach that financial peace is a journey, right? And it's not necessarily financial. And it's more financial freedom, but like when you look at debt free, a lot of times people build to be debt free, and then usually it's with a goal in mind of like purchasing a house, or I want to buy this nice car, or I want to buy something. But whatever it is usually something that puts you back into debt. And I think it's okay, because sometimes you just have good debt and bad debt, and then you just have to understand where your money is, where it's going. And as long as you have control and you're not I don't want to use that word, you're not owned by your job,
right,
or owned by the debt. And I meet people all the time that are owned by the debt. Hey, I work 80 hours because I have to pay for this and this, and
I'm paying for my now and I'm paying for my past at the same time.
It's tough. But I mean, I think you guys finding financial peace is the true freedom that everybody wants, is be able to manage those debts. As Americans, I think that's really what it is about. So I am uber excited that you guys came on with me. Definitely, Tandon, when your book comes out, hop back on here, man. We'll promote that thing. Yeah, that's gonna be amazing. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. On this show, we say that winners win, and we want to thank you guys for being winners, because we win when you win. And I really appreciate you guys sharing all that information with me tonight.
Well, thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
It is our pleasure.
This has been fun.
Yeah.
We definitely have to do this again, I promise, because I got 100 more questions, but we only had 45 minutes to talk about it. But it was definitely a fruitful conversation. I'm going to go back. I'm going to take a whole bunch of notes. And just thank you guys for being great, though, and continue to be great.
Thank you for doing this podcast. This is great.
Yeah.
You're doing something great for our community. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. My pleasure. And I'm happy to help. Hey, thank you again, guys. We're out. Boom.
All right. Bye.